Awesome. Um, I some of the flyers that you posted last week were the wrong time zone, so I'll do it later. And then I'll make sure I give you the updated ones with the updated time zones. Australia had a daylight savings. Daylight, it was saved, so it is. Oh, it's a kerfuffle. But thank you, Emily. So welcome everyone, especially if you're from Australia, because it was especially hard to figure out the time zones to get here. So welcome. I love you guys. All right, so where we're going to be picking up is on page 42. And last week we spoke about the paragraph, two of the members of Alcoholics Anonymous came to see me, that paragraph. Now, we're not going to go through and dissect it again and again, but I just wanted to speak a little about that paragraph before we dive into that next paragraph where we're supposed to kick off. Because in that paragraph, two of the members of Alcoholics Anonymous, paragraph 1, in that paragraph, what we see is our man Fred, our homie, Harry Brick, that's his real name. He takes the first step. So in that paragraph, it talks about how these two members of Alcoholics Anonymous, they asked if he thought himself an alcoholic and were really licked this time. And this is a question that we're going to see. I'm not going to take us to all the places right now because we are just doing a moment of review. But that is a question that is going to be asked again and again and again. And the next place we're going to see it is on page 58. And that question that they were asking Fred is a question that is going to be asked to us. Do I want what you have? Am I willing to go to any length to get it? And then what did the two members do? They shared from their experience what it was like to be an alcoholic, focusing specifically on the obsession of the mind. And that process, sharing from their own experience what it was like to have the obsession of the mind, examples of when they have gone through that alcoholic cycle or addict cycle, I'm never going to do it again, only to find ourselves doing it again. That process snuffed out the last flicker of conviction that I could do the job myself. And when that last flicker of conviction that Fred had, that he could do it his way, that he could control and manage, and he had his little plans and designs, he could see beyond a shadow of a doubt that he would drink again. That was his step 1. And so we're diving in, paragraph 2, page 42, near the bottom of the page. So it says they outlined. So after he could concede that, man, a relapse was inevitable, he couldn't do it on his own, he could not stay sober on his own power, they outlined the spiritual answer and program of action, which 100 of them had followed successfully. And I talk a lot. And yes, welcome, as Emily put in the chat. She is on a girl. Welcome. We're on page 42. The spiritual answer that we have in 12 step is a spiritual awakening. And the program of action that we have today is the 12 steps. So in this moment, Fred, Harry Brick, which, how do you forget a name like that? You know what I mean? You'll always know who Fred is. Jim, Ralph Furlong, that's not going to stick, but you're going to have an image of a brick it's got some fuzzies on it, little cuddly brick. That'll stick with you forever. But in that moment, he has the 3 pieces of information. He knows what his problem is. He understands alcoholism, very specifically what is driving him, the allergy of the body, the obsession of the mind. He sees that his solution is a spiritual awakening, and he is given the course of action that he needs to take in order to go from hopelessness to hope. So it says, though I had been only a nominal churchman, their proposals were not intellectually hard to swallow. So what he's saying is like, I'm not a big religious guy, but it makes sense that a God, a higher power, could be more powerful than my obsession of the mind. That makes sense. That was his step 2. So in that moment, he takes step 2. It wasn't this big lightning thunderbolts. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe there could be a higher power. Maybe that could help me. Boom, step 2. And it says, but the program of action, though entirely sensible, was pretty drastic. And who has not felt that way, right? I've been talking about this a lot. None of us came to the rooms of our respective 12-step fellowship and saw the steps on the wall or on page 59 or shared on the Zoom screen and thought, oh boy, that looks like a delightful course of action. I can't wait to do that. I would love to. Oh, welcome. We're on page 52. Sorry, I did that with the same inflection as I'm doing for this little bit here. Welcome, page 52. It's or 42, 42. Sorry. I don't mean it condescending. It's just coming out that way. I cannot wait to write inventory. I've got a notebook right here. And sharing the context of my inventory and the deep dark secrets, why, yes, I'm an open book. I can't wait. And you'd like me to sit in quiet for how long? An hour? I love that. I'm so good at sitting still. It's my jam. Oh, and I'm going to ask a power to take my defects? Oh, I have no desire to get in there and manage those. Sounds delightful. Amends? Even to my ex? I can't wait. What a wonderful proposition. And helping other alcoholics or addicts or whatever brings you to this study? Wonderful. I can't think of a better use of my time. And alcoholics are so famously kind, patient, punctual, reasonable, and not selfish or self-centered, unlike myself. And prayer, meditation, God, higher power, I've got no issues with any of those. That sounds delightful. No baggage, no old ideas. No, thank you. Nobody shows up to 12 step with that. We all are like, yikes, that sounds pretty drastic. No, thank you. And he says, it meant I would have to throw several lifelong conceptions out the window. So that getting rid of my old ideas, that was not easy. But the moment I made up my mind to go through with the process, and the moment he makes up his mind to go through with the process, to go through with the 12 steps, that is his third step decision. So we see him take step one, we see him take step two, and we see in this moment that he made up his mind, he made his third step decision. And the result of that for him was that I had the curious feeling that my alcoholic condition was relieved, as in fact, it proved to be. Over to Thierry. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, the steps were a lot of fun. That was good. Um, what hit me was this comes from our layest side prayer as well, and it says which is the program of action. Program of action meant I had to throw several lifelong conceptions out the window. I think I did this with earlier with you guys, but write down some lifelong conceptions of yours. Um, and put it on a piece of paper and ask God to be willing to let it go. There's some things that I wrote down that were my bugaboos. You could call them bear traps. Here's some of my lifelong conceptions, which I took on from my family. I took on from social settings. I took on from political stuff, all sorts of stuff. And I think one of them was I need money to live. Uh, that was a lifelong conception that I had to not just lay aside, I had to sweep it away and get rid of it. What's another lifelong conception is I need a desk job in order to be okay. This is something I took on from my mommy and poppy, right? What is it? I need you to like me in order to be okay. That's another good one. Anyone get thoughts about what other people are thinking about them? All the time, right? I know they're thinking about me. I'm so consumed about what other people are thinking of me. That's another lifelong conception. I want people to like me in order to be okay. Right? I need to be in love to be all right. That's another lifelong conception. I need a partner to be okay. These are all lifelong conceptions that I took on as an old personality. You could say an old personality, something that's from yesterday or about a minute ago, whatever, that I have to throw away. What about Mr. Spiritual Man? It's another lifelong conception I took in through AA. Mr. AA convention speaker, that's another one, right? Where's my standing ovation, Howard? And if Howard doesn't give me a standing ovation, yeah, then thank you, buddy. See, see, I could have everybody in this room give me a standing ovation, but if Howard is sitting down and not clapping his effing hands, who's upset? I am. I'll give you, I'll give you. And I need people to like me in order to be okay. I did this yesterday. My wife, she see, I'm still a sick puppy sometimes, not every day, But my wife, she made wings, and I know my supervisor loves wings, right? What's wrong, buddy? Want to say hi to everybody? What's wrong? What's wrong? He loves wings, so I made sure to bring him. I was gonna bring him some wings, right? And I know because he loves them that he's gonna like me and be nice to me at work. So I bring him to work, Paige, right? And then first thing I do is I go right up to him and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, my wife made some wings. Here you go. They got some of this great barbecue sauce from up the north. Bought at Poughkeepsie, blah blah blah." And he didn't say anything. He just took them and sat down. And as I'm walking away, I'm like, "You didn't say thank you. Yo, where's my thank you at?" He didn't even give me a smile. He didn't even say like, I appreciate that. And this is a lifelong conception that I took on. And sometimes it's me playing God, and I want people to like me, just like a stage, my characters and actors in my play, that I want them to act accordingly to fit the role that I assign them. And if they go off role, I'm going to be pissy. Why is my ideas being hurt, threatened, or interfered with? And that's what we're going to get into when we get into inventory, and why you're so upset or disturbable is because your old ideas get messed with. So look at some lifelong conceptions of yours, anything that you took on from your family, right? Anything. I mean, I need this money. I need money to be okay. Was a long process in the beginning of recovery. I don't know. Anyone think about getting a job when they're in rehab? Yeah. I need a job. And like the first like 2 weeks, you're hopeless, you got your butt thoroughly kicked, and then 2 weeks later you feel better, look better, all that stuff. And what's the first thing that pops into your mind? I need a job. That's my mind talking, right? A lifelong conception that I have to throw away. I need a job, I need a job, I need a job. And I remember I didn't get a job and I was so upset and so disturbed and so depressed and so angry and being hit with waves of self-pity that I almost drank in under a year and a half, just like Bill did when he almost brought him back to a drink. But thank God I started working with a lot of people in the beginning of recovery. And if you're new here, you don't have to wait 12 months to be on step 12. You could start doing 12-step work within a matter of weeks if you have a vital spiritual experience. Oh my God, right? It's like witchcraft sometimes when we talk about this stuff. All right, back to the reading. All right. But that's not easy. It's not easy to get letting go of everything. Everything you think. Letting go of the old personality is not easy. But if you want to have a revelatory experience, if you want to have a transformation of thought, action, all that stuff, mind, body, and spirit, if you want to be completely transformed, something's got to give. And usually there's a lot of resistance. Just like Paige was talking about, oh, this is wonderful doing the steps. F that. I hated doing the steps. Like, I know she's being sarcastic, but why don't we like doing the steps? Because it goes against all our old lifelong conceptions. It goes against all our old person. It goes against the grain on everything. It goes against the current. It's like swimming upstream, and getting hit by twigs and branches. It's not fun, right? But when you let go, absolutely. And he says, but the moment I made up my mind, I made a decision. The moment that you make a decision to let go absolutely and just do whatever it takes to get well, it says it right here, to go through with the process. I had that curious feeling my alcohol condition was relieved. In fact, I like to collect facts in this book. If you see the word fact, highlight it, means proven to be true, is proved to be. And that's been my experience as well. And what process? Remember, I gave you guys a definition of process? You guys remember that? I'll give it to you guys again. It's a series of actions. Sounds familiar, right? Or steps. That sounds really familiar, Paige. To achieve a particular end. So if I make up my mind to abandon myself utterly to these steps and just get in harmony with this power, I will have a transformation of mind, body, and spirit. That's been my experience. Uh, Paige, you want me to read the next paragraph or you want to go?
Oh, you take it. You take it. I took the first
Okay.
and did review. You take the second. All yours.
Okay, cool. Quite as important was the discovery that spiritual principles, whenever they say principles, they're referencing the steps, not the principles behind the steps. I still don't know who made up that. If you really think about it, like look at the four step. I mean, what spiritual principles in the four step? Courage, hope, faith. I mean, there's not just one principle behind one step. It's many, you know? Okay. Would solve some of my problems. Oh, I guess that was a typo. First time I read that, when it said all my problems, I thought that was really bold. Really, really bold. And what was the main problem that I suffered from was from lack of power. When I had an acquisition of power and I built a relationship with this power, it did solve all my problems because God is now intertwined in every aspect of my being and everything that I do. You could quote unquote say he's the centerpiece or the central fact of my life. And my life has absolutely changed. Right. That's why I'm going to give you guys a spiritual exercise in the next chapter. If God is everything, right? That means he's in the nothing. So go find him in everything that you do. Go find God while you're doing the dishes. I hate doing the dishes, by the way. And go find God when you're doing laundry, which I did not like doing today either after work. Right? And to go find God while you're driving. Go find God while you're at your AA meeting. Go find God while you're at a business meeting. Yeah, that's not fun to do, right? Yeah. Go find God when you go to a don't drink no matter what meeting, right? You know, those watered down meetings that make you want to sit, you know, throw up. Yeah. Go find God in there. And when you're finding this power, when you're seeking this power and something that you really don't want to do, you'll have a realization or a moment where you realize that God has always been there. You're just awake and aware, right? And then you attend that meeting that's like kind of like, you know, listening to garbage and you listen to something that might change your life. Or you might now you have no longer deaf ears, but you listen to a newcomer who's fighting for their life and you go approach them, right? You go see that terror, bewilderment, frustration, despair. You're not judging anyone. You're looking at someone to help, to be useful in a meeting. I mean, what the hell is the point of going to a meeting? Is to go uh, help someone. That's to be useful. Period. I miss that. I didn't want to go to a meeting to feel better. That's a lifelong conception it took in the beginning of recovery, right? And who had that ship sail on it when went to so many meetings that they still felt like crap? Yeah, because I had a selfish motive. I was going to these meetings to feel better. Well, in a nutshell, I wasn't. I was trying to manage and control the principal. And I was having a bad day. I have a friend who says this, I don't have bad days, I have selfish days. How true is that? Why was I having a bad day? It's because of being selfish. I was going to a meeting to make myself feel better. And I wasn't listening to anyone or being helpful to anyone. Okay, sorry. I have since been brought to a way of living, fourth dimension, we talked about that, infinitely more satisfying and I hope more useful than the life I lived before. My old manner of life was by no means a bad one. Hell no. My old life was awesome. It just kind of sucked at the end. I just did go a little crazy. Right? But I would not exchange the best moments for the worst I have now. There's that word now. And then if you ever listen to Marty C, he does a great talk on the word now. And I recommend that you look at the word now all throughout the big book and look at your current experience with the word now. What are my worst moments now that I've been through trial and tribulation? My dad passing away, my son being violent, or my son's not sleeping, or literally almost broken recovery, blah, blah, blah. Would I exchange those moments, you know, for the, what is it, for the best moments of my dream? No. You know, like you can't put a price tag on this stuff. You can't put a price tag on this relationship with power. Like I drank the Kool-Aid. I've been brainwashed. Paige. And then my brain needed to be washed. If anyone needed a good brainwashing, it's this guy right here. If anyone wants to see a picture of me in spring of 2018, I will send it to you. You will not see the same cat that is standing here today. Yes, I am a miraculous demonstration of power, God. You remember that picture? Right. But look at your current experience with the worst days that you have now, and compare that to your crappy days when you were drinking. I can't exchange this life. If you came up to me with $1 billion and asked me to stop doing this work and stop believing in God, I mean $1 billion. Think about that. Let's just take a pause. If someone was going to offer you $1 billion, stop doing AA, stop believing in God, go be a selfish POS. I say no. And that's something that's not the old Terry that would have said no. You're looking at someone who's brand new. All right, back to you, Paige.
I will say it was very kind of you to not ask me to give you a standing ovation, because some of you guys know why. But I will point out it might have been a bit of an inconsiderate move to ask the gentleman with the broken wrist to clap for you. You know, just gonna throw that out. But that's what we do. It's like, hey, why didn't I get a standing ovation? Girl can't stand. Why isn't he clapping? Got a broken wrist, and I can't see past that. And goodness gracious, Terry, it is way up. He'll give you the elbows. Elbows. Ah, and that's 2 minutes in the box for the Canadians. You know what happens if you give them the elbows. Sports. That is a hockey reference, and Rob isn't here, so wasted. Wasted hockey reference. Absolutely. And I will tell you, Terry, man, it is wild how I got some of your old ideas. It's almost like our old ideas, they were hanging out together. And I love that idea that quite as important. So as important as the removal or the removal of the obsession of the mind is that this way of life will not answer, solve all my problems. Now, when I come to the rooms of 12 step, man, what is my main problem? The loudest, most prominent problem that I have is I have this obsession of the mind. This thought that I have when I am sober that takes me back again and again and again to the first drink, drug, addictive or compulsive behavior, whatever brings you to this study. That is my main problem. But what is fueling that? What is fueling the obsession of the mind is what is known as the spiritual malady. We call it the restless, irritable discontent. Ooh, I can't get rid of my rid, you know? We talk about that emptiness, that loneliness, that despair that I feel in the depth of my soul. If you guys know what it is like to put down the bottle or put down the drugs, and it's like, man, I cannot get out of bed. The anxiety is on me. There's something coming from the depth of my soul that is just screaming. By the way, you can't bring this up around normal people. Normal people do not relate to this. If you're like, oh yeah, no, this morning, the morning terror and madness was on me. There is a screaming coming from the depth of within me that nothing can satiate. They're like, girl, this is a Dunkin' Donuts. What are you doing here? This is a Timmy's. Like, girl, no. Which apparently that's not how I make friends. Apparently, oversharing trauma response. Can't relate. But that at root is my problem. That I have this conscious sense. And it is only a sense because I can never really be separate from God. But this conscious sense of separateness from a power beyond myself. And we treat that with the spiritual awakening. And it is wild. And my experience is like Terry's. Man, I came here and life hit me. And I've had some life that has happened in my 15 years of sobriety. I've had, and I won't say, like, I've had some not great stuff happen when I was drinking and using and living on the streets, as one would expect. But I have had some of the most painful experiences of my life happen in sobriety. And yet, this is a way of life that solves all my problems. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to give Harry a standing ovation and run a 4K. I think it's a 5K. I just don't want to do the full race. Very alcoholic of me. That does not mean, I'm going to go back to squats and I'm lunging. I cannot think of anything worse than the ability to lunge at this point in my life. Sorry. That's just apparently my personal battle with doing exercises. I've been going on little walks. They're not really walks, they're rolls. But that idea that these spiritual principles, the tangible actions of these 12 steps, they change how I show up to each and every situation that I face. Life will continue to happen, not because I'm an alcoholic, not because I'm a drug addict, not because I'm codependent. Life will still happen because I am a human being, and I am not exempt from the human experience. And the human experience involves loss and pain and suffering and grief and death and illness. And that is life. But this is a way of life that allows all of us to show up in ways we never thought possible. And that has been my experience. And have I always handled everything perfectly? Absolutely not. I can regularly be the dumpster that is on fire, but I tell you, it is way better than before. And that, man, there are times where it's not me that's even doing it. And that's the real miracle. And so what I'm trying to say is there is not a problem in my life that I cannot take through the tangible actions of the 12 steps. There is not a problem in my life that inventory won't help. There is not a problem in my life that is too big for the power of God, higher power, creator, spirit of the universe. And when he talks about, a way of life that is infinitely more satisfying and I hope more useful, man, that useful. I was not useful. I desperately wanted to be useful. When we get to the next chapter, probably 3 years from now, I'm just kidding. But when we get to that next chapter, we're going to talk about the bedevilments. And in it, it's a beautiful description of what it is like to live as a spiritually sick individual, a human being who is experiencing that conscious sense of separateness from God. And in it, that idea that I couldn't be of real use to other people. I wanted to be. I wanted to be of use to other people. And I just couldn't be. And then, unlike Terry, my old manner of life, mine sucked. Listen, I will tell you, in kindergarten, I was a little overwhelmed. Like, and it would not be societally acceptable to give a kindergartner crack cocaine. But what I will let you know is the stress of tying my shoes, I could use a little something to take the edge off. You know what I'm saying? It was a little much, but they weren't giving out hoots of crack before you go to your Montessori kindergarten. I know Kate's going to make fun of me because I went to Montessori. Love you. I got that. But that idea, and that quote is often sort of misquoted, that like my best day drinking is not better than my worst day sober. And I don't know if that's fully true on the whole, but the way of life that I have found is infinitely better than anything I ever had before. And again, I'm going to emphasize that this is a way of living. Top of 43, bought into a way of living. Oh man, I gotta keep doing it. Lame. I was kind of hoping I could have you guys know what's coming, that crackpot sobriety. I was hoping I could set it and forget it. Nope. It turns out this is a way of life. I gotta stir fry it. You know what I mean? I gotta be up in there. And by the way, God is absolutely in the stir fry. And I love that suggestion from Terry. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to invite God wherever I go or whatever I'm doing, and watch for God. And one of my favorite places to find God is at the airport. Because I don't know, for some reason, more often than not, the veil is real thin for me. So I love watching for God at the airport. I also really enjoy listening to varieties of religious experiences while I'm at the airport, which maybe gives you a lens into what a giant weird I am. So that's me. God, I'm listening. I was listening to it on my little walk, my little roll. So it said, Fred's story speaks for itself. We hope it strikes home to thousands like him. He had felt only the first nip of the ringer. And as you were wrapping up, Terry, what I was trying to do was I had downloaded a picture of a ringer, and I was trying to find it on my computer, and I couldn't find it. And I think Howard's just put it in the thing. Yeah, he's got the finger with it too. He's got the ringer and the finger without context. That the ringer is, some of you might remember, some of you, your parents, your grandparents might have had it. And after clothes were being washed, they would go through these two cylinders. You can see it. Howard's got the picture there, and it would wring those clothes, get all that water out, and you would not want to catch your finger in there. And so he got that first nip of the ringer. So he just caught it a little bit, right? He didn't have a lot of these external consequences. He still had the great job, the great wife, the promising children of college age. We just love Fred. He had all of it together, but he had that internal surrender. So most alcoholics have to be pretty badly mangled. Yeah, you guys call it a mangle over there in the UK. Yeah, pretty badly mangled. Eileen's been using mangle in conversation. It's delightful. before they really commence to solve their problem. So mangled is like beaten up. But what I will point out is most of us have to be pretty badly beaten up before we solve their problems. But it is not an external mangling that I need. I'm sure we all know that chronic relapser who has lost all and is in that place of, no, I got this, no, I got this. It is an internal mangling. At least that's what I found that I need to experience. So I've got to be pretty badly mangled, at least internally. And I believe that would be hereditary. Pew, pew, pew.
Thanks, Paige. Okay. Many doctors and psychiatrists agree with our conclusion. One of these men, staff member of a renowned, world-renowned hospital, recently made the statement tough. This is Percy Pollock, right? I think so, right? I forgot where he was. And this is our third doctor they're introducing to us. They gave us Dr. Silkworth, top dog in the United States. Then they gave us another doc, Dr. Carl Jung. And now they give us a third doctor. What do you take a wild guess his opinion is, right? Sounds like we're pretty much screwed. Let's find out. What you say about the general hopelessness of the average alcoholic's plight is, in my opinion, doctor's opinion, correct. As the two of you men whose stories I've heard, there's no doubt in my mind that you are 100% hopeless apart from, this is coming from a doctor, divine help. Had you offered yourselves as patients in this hospital, I would not have taken you there. Because we're heartbreakers, right? If I've been able to avoid it or able to avoid it, people like you are too heartbreaking. And then we're heartbreaking. Though not a religious cat, I have profound respect for the spiritual approach in such cases of yours. For most cases, there's virtually no other solution. Another doctor, third doctor, is telling us straight up that we're screwed. We're hopeless. There's nothing we could do for you as doctors, but there's some type of power, something a higher power, whatever you want to call it, the great pumpkin, the great banana. I don't care if you call it a doorknob. If that doorknob fails you, make it the door, or make it the house, or make it the spoon universe. Just keep making your God larger until it works, right? But for us, if you are a hopeless variety cat like me, where's Waldo, right? You saw that. Uh, if you're yeah, there he is right there. Where's Waldo? Go find him. If you're hopeless like me, I need some divine intervention. Like that was just me. If you're probably in this meeting right now, you've experienced some type of divine intervention that you can't explain, and you made it to a meeting on a Friday night, and you're reading a big book with a bunch of people. It sounds like you've had an experience of being hopeless. Welcome, welcome home. Now, Paige, you want to just finish this up? This little guy is being a little bobcat right now. Come here. Oh, say hi to everybody. Say hi, Tina. Hi. Paige, can you take over? I gotta.
Absolutely, I gotcha. Now, Howard's got in the chat the info of Dr. Percy Pollock. He was in the Bellevue Hospital in New York City. But I am going to share a story that will annoy the whole bunch out of Howard. I was trying to not say the word crap because I'm watching my language. So I was listening to, now this is a couple of years ago, I was listening to the book, Writing the Big Book by Bill S. And in it, there was a story of Bill Wilson and Fitz Mayo going to visit Dr. Leslie B. Holman of Johns Hopkins University. And I was like, sounds exactly like this story. So I made a little note of it. And then, no worries, we're glad you're here. Love you, Kathy. And then Brian, too. Bye. Uh, oh, we always love a Kathy, don't we, Howard? They're the best. They're the best. Oh, yeah. Oh, I got all the stuff. Oh, I love it. And so I was talking about, hey, there's a possibility. At least this Dr. Leslie B. Holman of Johns Hopkins University said something similar. And then the last time I was at this part of the book, and I was talking about it, and I didn't even mention Leslie B. Holman because I was trying to end on time. And then Rob, our dearly Rob, We just love him the most. He was like, did you know Bill S. thinks that it's possible that it was Dr. Leslie B. Holman? And I'm like, oh, that's annoying. So I had to like record myself, be like, hey, that's a thing. So is it Dr. Percy Pollock? Is it Dr. Leslie B. Holman? I don't know. Hang out, stick around. Somebody smarter than me will figure it out. That's what history husbands are for. Pew pew. Alrighty. Oh, they're the best. I know. I'm so sorry, Howard. I'm so annoying. Uh, so one of the things that I want to point out though is it says what you say about the general hopelessness of the average alcoholic's plight is, in my opinion, correct. What we are talking about is hopelessness. And that is where I need to get to in step one. I need to be able to see reality. And reality is that experience of hopelessness. Because if I am an alcoholic, if I am an addict, if I am a compulsive, whatever brings you to this all-inclusive study, it is not simply that I can never drink again, or I can never use again, or I can never engage in that addictive behavior again. That's a bit of a problem. But my real problem is that I will. I will engage in it again. I will relapse. And that is what makes it hopeless. That I continue to go back to the thing that is destroying my life, even though when I scrape myself off the bathroom floor, I can tell you I never want to do it again, only to find myself doing it again. And if I can see that I am hopeless, that then leads me to the awakening that there could be some hope apart from divine help. Human power is not sufficient. And at this point in the book, we've had a look at some of the human powers that we have tried. Going to meetings, going to treatment, going to detox, going to rehab, going to the gym. And there's nothing wrong with these things. I'm not slagging them. Go to the gym if you need to. Going to doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, nothing wrong with those as well, but not a solution for this illness. Very helpful with other things, but not a solution for this illness. Getting into a relationship, getting out of a relationship, having kids, getting a cat, getting a plant, all of those things, sometimes in that order, sometimes in a reverse order, not a solution. And what I have to see is that nothing that I have tried and nothing that I can try, because I did not try everything, but everything that I tried failed, is going to work. And I need a power that is greater than me. And when it talks about that humility to be like, hey, if you had offered yourself as a patient, I wouldn't have dealt with you, because it is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking to watch people like us. Now, I'm not just buttering you up because I love to pump people's tires, but I do love you. But the truth is, alcoholics, addicts, people who suffer with various manifestations of this illness, we're the frickin' best. I'm not saying other people suck, but how do you not fall in love with an alcoholic? You know, we are creative, we are imaginative, we are funny. And like the Al-Anons are like, I know, God, it's the worst, you know? But like, how do you, like, we are incredible people, wonderful people. And it is heartbreaking to watch lives get snuffed out by this horrific illness. It is heartbreaking to see that infamous P word, that potential that doesn't come into fruition. It is heartbreaking to watch good human beings mangle their lives and the lives of those around him. And he's like, man, he's like, I got good boundaries. If I don't have to deal with you, I won't deal with you. And he emphasized something at the end of that paragraph, or she, if it's Dr. Leslie B. Holman. It's not Paige. I mean, just let me explore. History is what I make it. No, it's not. It's going to shock people that this is how I also do math. Vibe. I used to be a math tutor. No. But it says, for most cases, there is virtually no other solution. If I have the diagnostic criteria of this illness, there is not any other solution for me apart from a spiritual solution. Now, going to wrap up, and this tiny little paragraph summarizes what we have been trying and what, more importantly, Bill Wilson was trying to explain and hammer home in this little paragraph. Once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink. And if I have no defense, what that means is I will drink again. To be utterly defenseless, there is nothing that I can do to stop the relapse. It says, except in a few rare cases. And we're all like, am I a rare case? No. I'm just getting, no, we're not the rare cases, except in a few rare cases. Because if you're hanging out with us Looney Tunes at the Lunacy Commission, goodness gracious, you don't got other options, I promise you. Except in a few rare cases, neither he nor any other human being can provide such a defense. Human power is not sufficient. His defense must come from a higher power. And so the next paragraph, or the next chapter, that's what we're going to dive in on. And we're going to see that necessity of a higher power. And Terry, I know you got your hands full. Do you want to talk about that sentence or that paragraph?
Yeah.
Are you good? Or
Yeah. Once more, like they haven't told us 1,000 times prior. We're gonna drink again or get high again. And that's something that if I fully accept it, not saying acceptance is the answer to all my problems, I'm just saying if I fully surrender to that fact, I will do whatever it takes. And I will believe in a God no matter what. Yeah. All right, let's go into We Agnostics. Took us 9 months, but let's do it.
do you want to take it or should I?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
good if you want to take it.
yeah, okay. We Agnostics. I guess agnostic means without knowledge. I guess the Latin term, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, means without experience in this God. Um, I've had a bunch of people give it to me in different ways where I believe that there's a God in my life, but won't work for me. Or I believe there's a God in my life, but I'm not living like there's a God in my life, or I'm not acting like there's a God in my life. Um, so this chapter is probably the most pivotal chapter in my life. Does not reference step two, but you see that this chapter is all about step two. Step two is literally they have a chapter dedicated to just that particular step, which is our way out step. It's our hope step. All right. And it says in the preceding chapters, you've learned something about alcoholism. That's a statement turned to a question. Have I learned something about alcoholism? Have I? Have I been paying attention for the past 8, 9 months? No. When I drink, I lose control. I can't control the amount I take, or when I'm sober, I can't stay sober. Did I learn something about this spiritual malady or this separateness from this power? Right? Have I learned something about alcoholism, the I, me, my's? We talked about that on page, what is it, 36 or 37, and also in Fred's story, right? Am I mostly consumed with myself? So we hope we have made the clear distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. You guys know the difference? Right. Yeah. It's funny because, I met a lot of people who are non-alcoholics in AA, which is quite astounding to hear. Um, but I was given advice from a sponsor a long time ago. He says never judge anyone or their program or whatever. And that's very difficult to do when you meet someone who is not an actual alcoholic or an addict, and they're helping someone who is a real addict or a real alcoholic, and they're fighting for their lives. Hence the reason why if you're in this meeting or you're in this study, you're being armed with the facts about yourself. Go out and help people. Go out to these meetings where they are suffering, they are hurting. I've been attending a lot of meetings that are pretty watered down, and I found that's where I'm most useful, right? You could be too, right? So I mean, they spend, I don't know, the title page all the way up to this point to describe are you an alcoholic or not? They say it in one sentence. It's probably the best sentence that could describe what's wrong with us, mind and body, right? If honestly you want to, honestly want to, I cannot fine, you cannot quit entirely. That's the obsession. When I'm stone cold sober, I pick up a drink no matter what the consequences are, no matter what the pain and humiliation, which just happened literally yesterday, I will pick it up, right? Or I'm an and. I know Paige, you like to do the and and or, right? I'm an and. Yeah, now we talked about or and and being on a spectrum. I'll get there. If you, when drinking, neology, you have little control of the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. So that's our diagnosis. I learned this from Ralph W. in California. That's our diagnosis. Now, I said there's a spectrum. I was when it came to certain paraphernalia and certain stuff. Uh, I uh, I had a strong allergy dominant when it came to alcohol. When it came to drugs, I had both. But when I was in recovery, I had a strong dominance with the obsession in recovery. I became an and with alcohol in recovery. And I didn't even know it. It's just a progression of where I was at in my spectrum when it came to alcohol, my relationship with alcohol. It's always been there. I was just able to jump from one drug or one substance to another. That's me. I'm just a garbage head. That was my journey, right? And I did talk a lot about that. I don't want to go over it again, but um, you guys will hear it another time. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness. That's a description. Underline the word illness. That's our description of the diagnosis. What happened to your diaper? Must be nice to just walk around naked. Just fix his diaper. Sorry about that. I mean, how free is that? You know, don't you want to be like that? Just walk around, not giving a crap about what you're wearing, what other people think about you. That's what we're doing, everyone. We're going back home to that state of being where we were a child, like a child, not a care in the world, having a constant connection with power. I mean, how fun is that? I get to act like a kid all the time, and I love it. Sorry, went on a tangent. That's the first tangent of the night. Yeah, that took a long time, Paige. All right. And if you've never been here, sometimes we become tangents anonymous. So we go on random tangents on here anywhere. Just wherever God's directed me and Paige to go, we go. All right. If that be the case, you may suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience, that is our prescription to our diagnosis. And I would underline and highlight the word only. Only a spiritual experience will conquer. That's a departure point. That's an exit point. That is something, are you in the back of your mind, do you think that other than a spiritual experience can help me stay sober? If you have that idea that's flirting or mumbling around in the back of your brain, try it out. I don't like to recommend it. You try it out, but go try it out. If you have any reservations and you don't think a spiritual experience is needed, go try the other stuff and then come back. We will love you. Yes, we will love you until you love yourself. But I love saying this. We will love you until you love others. I'm going to keep saying that one more time. We're going to love you until you can love other people. We do not shoot our wounded here. We don't kick our wounded here. All right, you come back, we're going to love you. All right, Paige, back over to you. Pew, pew, pew.
And actually, not everything is a spiritual metaphor, Paige. Can't hear you. La la la. What happens is we come to the rooms of 12 step and we come here with a dirty diaper. We really do. I'm dragging around a lot of, I'm going to use the word mess. Because I'm watching my language and oh boy, I'll be sitting in it. And the process of the 12 steps is really getting rid of that diaper. You know, we get to be free. Paige, focus. No, no, thank you. I don't want to focus. All right. And yes, as Terry said, the word agnostic, and as Howard put in the chat, ag means without, and gnosis means knowing. And its etymological origin is Greek. But one of the things that I like to emphasize about the title is when we talk about we agnostics, the knowing the knowing is not the, and I know nobody here has any experience with this, but you know when your sponsor is giving you the same suggestion over and over and over again, and what do we rip out? I know. Yeah, yeah, I know. I know. And obviously, I don't because I was told to do it 50 times, you know? So that is not the knowing. And when you read about books or texts that are referred to as Gnostic, They're not talking about an intellectual knowing. They're not talking about an intellectual memorizing facts and data and information. Those books that are Gnostic is that experiential, as Terry was saying, that experiential heart level knowing. And so when we come to the second step, we all experience agnosticism as it is defined in its ancient Greek. You'll note it is we agnostics, not to the agnostic, not the agnostic afterwards, for agnostics. We agnostics. Now, of course, there's two reasons. One is to help those who feel that they are struggling and wrestling with the conception of a power greater than themselves, to help them feel that they are not alone. But all of us, when we approach the second step, we might have had moments, we might have had experiences, but we have not had that heart level, deep inner understanding of what it is like, that knowing of God. That's what we're talking about. And actually, we have a history husband and then a history husband's wife. And those two people are married. I'm just using this as a general sort of vibe. So I'm doing it weird. Admittedly, I did it a weird roundabout way. I'm so sorry, Howard. And it also doesn't work. I know. We can write inventory on me later. It's fine. You're like, I'm not. No. Yeah. Yeah. Take me through the col. Oh, yeah. Take me through the columns. That could be. I don't need a shirt, but that could be it. Like, oh, girl, take me through the columns then. But here's what I will say. I know your spouses. Now I know it doesn't work great because I know Kathy pretty well. But it's like there's a knowing. Oh yeah, I know that guy, or oh yeah, I know that gal. I know them. But both of you have a different level of knowing with your spouse. And that's what we're talking about. I get to have a different, deeper level of knowing. Now, an interesting thing, because I am fun at parties, and I get invited to so many of them, and they're not loud or overstimulating. It's fine. It's fine. But I am into etymology, which, again, delightful. So in step 11, what we do is we seek to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. Now, when we talk about that conscious contact, the language root is different. Agnostic is Greek. Conscious is Latin, so a completely different language system. And ag is, again, without, and gnosis, knowledge. But in conscious contact, the word conscious, con, means with, and shas, or sire, means knowing. So I come to the second step without a knowing, heart level experience of this power. And I go through the course of action that is outlined in this book. And in step 11, I am improving that with knowing experience of God. And while I'm on the etymology tangent, the word understand, it's like God as we understand God. And then we're all like, if I could understand it, it's not God. Or, God might misunderstand. And we make those jokes, and of course we would. But I have a 1930s dictionary. Again, please invite me to your sober party. I am a delight. I'm not. But in my 1930s dictionary, the word understand means to know through experience. And at this point, I don't have, oh, thank you. I don't have that experiential knowing of this power. I just got to believe that there could be one. Now, there's this Carl Jung. Carl Jung gave us knowledge of what our solution is. Our solution is the spiritual awakening. And there's this famous BBC interview where they're interviewing Carl Jung. And they ask him, growing up, did you believe in God? And he says, yeah, growing up, I believed in God. And then they said, do you believe in God now? And he says, no, I've got no need for belief. And then there's a pause. And he says, I know. That is the knowing that we're talking about. So at step 2, I'm not going to have that, but I'm going to build that and grow that and have that through these 12 steps. And yeah, I love as it was talking about in the preceding chapters, you've learned something of alcoholism. Goodness gracious, I hope so. I hope so. And as Terry was saying, this is the distinction. So this is how we diagnose alcoholism or addiction or compulsive, whatever brings you to this study. A lack of control, which is the physical allergy, or, and I am an and, as we were joking about, or a lack of choice, which is the obsession of the mind. And I love this first paragraph because when I came to the rooms, I came with a whole lot of andas. I came with buckets of yabbats. I showed up with all the ways that I was different, all the ways that I wasn't like you. I was in delusion and denial, and no, I'm not that bad, and no, no, no. But it was this paragraph that made it as simple as it needed to be to cut through all of that. And it pegged me between the eyes, and I could not deny who I was. Once I start, I cannot stop. And when I try to stay sober, I go back to it again and again. Because I was looking at all the ways I was different, all the ways I wasn't like you, all the DUIs I didn't have, all the divorces I didn't have. Keep in mind, I didn't have a driver's license, wasn't functional enough to get married. So congratulations to Howard and Mary. You guys are doing stuff right. Functional enough to get married. Can't relate. Can't relate sober either. No, thank you. But like truly, I was stuck in that denial. And what happens when I start? I can't control it every single time. And when I want to stay sober, I can't stay sober. That's it. That's alcoholism. And as Terry was pointing out, an illness of this sort. And I've spoken about this a couple times, but I always emphasize that this is an illness rather than a disease. Now, it has been approved or accepted by the medical and psychiatric societies, fraternities, I don't know, a long time ago as a disease. In fact, Marty Mann attended her first meeting today. Marty Mann, go her, today at Bill Wilson's house. I was trying to do history things today. Trying, and she was a huge proponent. She pushed for it to be, yeah, literally. I was using Bob's calendar. Yeah, isn't it great? Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Howard knows what's up. By the way, if you want one of your AA history calendars, let us know. We'll connect you with Bob M. He's delightful. He makes them. Oh, he's got the little business card right there. So check out Howard's screen. Focus page. But the reason I refer to it as an illness rather than a disease, and I will not correct anyone's language or police anyone's language. That's not my business. That's not my job. But the reason I do is when I've had to deal with a lot of people that are pedantic, that are like, actually, Paige. And I'm like, I don't have the patience for that. But I'm not talking about anyone here. Genuinely, I'm not. But also, the difference between an illness and a disease is a disease is diagnosed by a doctor, but an illness is the report of a patient's symptoms. And I am the one that needs to be convinced. So I use that word illness. Now, oh gosh, we're right at the hour. Oh gosh, I got a little Midwestern. Have I been to Minnesota? Only once. No, I've never been to Minnesota. It was Wisconsin. Focus. I don't mean to do the accent. I have clearly some Midwestern sensibilities. I love my cheese and my you betches. Alrighty. So when it talks about if that be the case, so if I have the allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind, I am gripped with an illness, which only a spiritual experience will conquer. Only. And what all I need to do in step 2 is believe that a spiritual experience is possible. Is there anything you wanted to end on, Terry? I know, man, that was the worst time to hand it over. Your hands are so full.
No, I'm good. Thank you,
Awesome.
though. That was great.
Thank you so much, Terry. Oh, all right. So what I'm going to do, I'll stop the recording, and next week we'll pick up right where we left off. So I'll stop the recording. We'll wrap up with the prayer, and thank you all for joining us.